Next, I think another ceiling, so to speak, which is something that we haven't gotten right, we haven't quite cracked, but I really would call, I think, entrepreneurs who are passionate about designing or innovating for humans to try, is our innovation around language. Language is really exciting. Voice is natural and gorgeous and anciently evolved. It's something that works seamlessly in terms of communicating between people, and speech recognition technology, voice commands, translation services, and these other types of accessibility innovations are really a wide open field for a lot of interdisciplinary applications. Google's invested a lot of time in helping users interact with their devices more easily. So send a WhatsApp message to mom, hi mom, I'll call you later. That now works on your phone seamlessly, but think about if you needed to call your doctor, or think about if you needed to do even more complex tasks while your hands are occupied. I think there's a lot of innovation that could happen around voice. Moving forward, personal trust of technology is really important. I talked about some themes around how technology is coming closer to humans, and that we are allowing technology into our personal lives and into collecting all of this data around us. And I think it's really, really important for Google and for all companies that are large and that are small to really protect the user's sense of trust, and to realize that trust in technology can be a make or break deal, the deal moment. And the minute that you lose the user's trust, whether it's I don't trust what you're doing with my data, or I don't actually want my memory to be surfaced, or the right to be forgotten, for example, are really sensitive situations. It's really important to keep in mind. And I think there's actually a lot of entrepreneurial opportunity around the idea of providing privacy for users. If you just look at Snapchat, it's amazing. I actually only use Snapchat now to talk to my best girlfriends, and I'm like, whoa, I'm starting to just use Snapchat with my mom. And if you don't use Snapchat yet, it's amazing because it goes away. And it's the whole idea of digital memory and allowing it to be, embracing ephemerality is something that I think is a hot topic across a lot of different fields. This is an example from identity management, where it's an example of the infrastructure that we're offering on our developer site to actually sign in users more seamlessly, where the users don't have to use a password. And the idea here is that working towards a future that's more secure, to be able to pass user information without risk of it being attacked or stolen or hacked, to kind of protect identity is a big theme of partnerships this year in the whole world. So the second theme, if the first theme was kind of about the personal nature between your device and human, and that relationship. The second theme I'd like to talk about, just where I see a lot of opportunities for innovation, is in freedom of access. And the role, rather than just the role between you and the device, the role between technology and society. So with regards to these themes, how can we really break the limits of freedom of speech and access? How can we have a purpose and help society while innovating? So one concept that we're spending a lot of time thinking about, most big companies are really investing a lot in, is the idea of having websites or access without borders, so to speak. And this is actually showing three capabilities of something we're calling progressive web apps, which is redefining the basic technology beneath a website so that it can act like it needs to, even in flaky networks or in low connective environments. So theoretically, if you're browsing something and then you go into the desert and you don't have any internet in the desert, it should still work if you have these technologies that can actually work in the background for advanced caching and show the minimum amount of information you need to get a task done, or whatever information is relevant offline. And so I think that the kind of restrictions of when technology is breaking right now, when you go into the tube and it doesn't work, or when you're traveling and it doesn't work, these basics need to be rewritten so that everyone can access the internet despite bad connectivity. And I think there's a huge opportunity for innovation here. And tomorrow actually, we have a sold out event of 500 people plus that are registered to learn about this technology and rebuild websites. And so I think that this is just one example of one wave of innovation that's coming this year. It might be completely new in 6 months, but things are moving faster from the basics. It's not, we don't have to think about driverless cars. You can really just redefine things like what is a website to change the world with technology. Another hot topic that you probably have read all over tech blog headlines is Internet of Things. It's very sexy. I actually get extremely excited about it because I think about how it can really change the world with regards to access. And if you think about applications for ways that the physical world, you can interact with the physical world, it can completely change areas that don't have the infrastructure needs for what we would say a developed nation. You could incredibly increase efficiency. And just a couple of examples. So if everything we interact with is connected, you can think about big buildings getting data on the efficiency and programmatically being able to regulate light bulb output remotely, for example. Parking meter payment services being available via a simple broadcast URL. When you go up to it, broadcast a URL, you see it on your phone, you instantly pay for things. Services like this to reduce some of the needed infrastructure. There's even like maybe clothing detecting chemicals in the air for various different reasons. There's just vast potential with this sort of physical internet and innovation. And there's, from an enterprise technology perspective, I kind of have daydreams sometimes thinking about how could a hospital be run differently if things were actually sending data to each other? Like what if all of, why can't I see all of my stats on a screen that's like interactive with all sorts of kind of recommendations based on all of the data of everyone that has this particular disease in the world? It's like that doesn't exist yet, and there's no reason why it shouldn't with the technology that's advancing so quickly. The last one I think it's really important to mention is freedom of access and freedom of speech. So security is not a given. Living in Mexico City the past 3 years, I learned that I am not always safe. I felt safe most of the time, but there were still subtle things about freedom of speech and the way that information was used and my own physical security that came into question routinely. Not walking on the street alone, but it's actually nothing compared to a lot of other realities that people live in. I think if you look back, I don't remember if it was 1 or 2 years ago that Twitter wasn't allowed it was blocked in Turkey. And Turkey's really close to us, and there's some major challenge for kind of blocked sites. My father he WhatsApped me from Djibouti a week ago, and he says, my VPN is attacked routinely. I don't know if I can reach you guys. I don't know who's attacking me, but I don't have access to the internet until I return. And I just thought, this is really scary. You know, we live in a global world, and it's easy to go to places. There's lots and lots of people that might not have access to politically free environments where they can. And I think that technology is getting